Welcome to Mother of Mammals podcast with your host, Bria. I have had some lovely feedback on the podcast so far. It really is heartwarming and I'm so thrilled. I really am. And I wanted to address where I get this ability to have conversations by myself, which is something that I've always done. I think it's a bit of a life-saving skill that I had to acquire. There are some really poignant moments that have just stuck with me of confirmation of why self-conversation is so important. I think the first time it was really addressed was, I remember being on a group walk when I was about maybe 7 or 8, possibly 9. And we were walking through the countryside and I was walking behind the group just quite happily by myself. But my dad and my cousin was walking in front of me and I could hear their conversation. My dad always spoke to himself. It just came across really normal. And I remember towards the end of his life, going to meet him and meeting him in public and just observing him as I walked up to him and he would just be standing there in full conversation with himself. But I observed this in such a loving way. He seemed to really enjoy his own company. And I have to say, I enjoy my own company. But this time I was walking and he was talking to my cousin. My cousin is just a few months older than me and we've always been very close. And he is autistic. And if he is not in deep conversation with someone else, he is in a deep conversation out loud with himself. It's just, constant conversation. Again, seems really happy in his own company. We were walking along and I remember my dad saying to him, the best person to talk to is yourself because you know yourself the best. And I thought, yeah, that makes sense. And I really do think it makes sense. There would be times later on in life that I remember being a young adult and hanging out with a friend of mine. And we were both starting off these relationships with people, these romantic relationships that from the start weren't great. And so we would sit and we would discuss how things were going. And I would listen to her and she would listen to me and I would give her advice and she would give me advice. And we found ourselves giving each other the exact same advice. It was like we could see what each other needed quite clearly, but it wasn't quite easy for us to see what we needed in the situation. And I came away from that thinking, I really need to learn how to take my own advice. Because, as my dad said, you know yourself the best. Better than anyone else in the world could ever know you. You know what you need to do. And I always try to actually take these things on board. Not just have them as a thought process, but actually go, if you know it, you need to do it. Like, knowing something is most of the battle. Like, once you know it, you really need to act upon it. But the biggest way these self-conversations impact my life. I think it saved me. It saved me through a huge chunk of my life. I grew up in a house of violence and aggression. And when you have no escape from abusive people, what their goal is to get into your mind, to make you believe that you deserve it, to make you believe that you are the one who caused it, you are going mad, it's all you. That is the goal of their behaviour. It's just about power and control. But I had this through childhood, teen years, early adulthood, and I'll go slightly off point. When I was 16 or 17, I was at college. I had a part-time job. I was very sociable with my friends. And this was probably the height of the violence and the aggression at home. And one day after college, I was with a friend and I saw this huge mirror. As I'm recording this, I'm literally sitting looking at this mirror that has just been with me like my whole adult life. But I saw this huge mirror when I was with my friend. It's about 5 foot wide and about 4 foot high. It's pretty big. It was like £20. And I said to my friend, I need to get this mirror. It's amazing. It's huge. Will you help me get this home on public transport? So we did. This is the story of how this mirror came into my life. And I got this mirror and I hung it in my room. And that mirror became the me that I would talk to. I would purposely set out at least an hour, if not longer, most days, to just go home and sit in front of the mirror. I had a rocking chair and I would pull the rocking chair in front of the mirror and I would just sit dead on looking into this mirror on my rocking chair. And I would sit and talk to myself and I would unpack whatever happened the night before. I would know when there was a safe time to do this. There would be certain periods of the day that there would almost definitely be no one home. Whatever else I was doing, whether it was work or class or going to see my friends, I made sure that I scheduled in the day to go home at that point that no one else would be there and just sit in front of my mirror. And I would sit there and unpack whatever happened the night before. I'd sit there and I would say to the mirror something like, oh yes, well I was at home and he came in and what happened was apparently I drank too much of the orange juice that was in the fridge and I'd only left like one glass. And so I was a fucking bitch and a dirty cunt. And he came and I locked my door and he smashed a hole in the door. And then he got in the room and he started smashing up all the stuff. And then eventually I had to call the police and the police came and they arrested him and then they only had him for a couple of hours and then he came back and he was even more angry because I had called the police. And so I'd say this to myself in front of the mirror. And then I would reply to myself saying, oh, okay, so what happened was he thought that you drank too much of the drink. And I would say, yeah, that's what happened. He thought I drank too much of the drink. Oh, so he smashed the place up and threatened to kill you. Yeah, that's what happened. And then I would say to myself, that's fucking mental. Yeah, it is. It's mental. And within these conversations, I could see everything very, very, very clearly. Not for one moment did I ever doubt to myself that I had done something wrong. I didn't live life by saying to myself, well, make sure you don't drink too much of this and make sure you don't do that because he'll come after you. I was like, fuck it. I'm living my life the way that I'm living because you are going to find a reason to be violent and aggressive no matter what. I have seen other people experience domestic violence and I have observed it. I have spoken to them and they seem to all doubt themselves, which is just one of the things that I just hate so much about it. That they say, well, if I hadn't done this and if I hadn't done that, then this wouldn't have happened. Now, as a 16, 17, 18-year-old, I was sitting there going, no, he's just a disgusting human being that is really fucked up and I did absolutely nothing to deserve it. But these were all self-conversations and it was a necessity that I had to come every single day and sit in my rocking chair in front of this mirror and have a full-blown conversation with myself. And I actually think that if I hadn't have done that, I might have given up. I might have given in. But I never did. And I'm so proud of myself that I didn't. Mother of Mammals podcast is sponsored by her sister company, Citizen of the World, ABC. I've designed a set of beautifully illustrated alphabet cards. Here at Mother of Mammals and Citizen of the World, ABC, I believe to have a true understanding of the world around us, we need to be seeing links. For example, to discuss climate change is to discuss xenophobia, capitalism, native, propaganda, education, questioning, history, justice, activism, voting, war, diversity, trees, immigration, and so on. Purposely printed as cards so each subject can be placed side by side. These are thought-provoking alphabet cards suitable for all ages, so the levels of conversation can be age or stage appropriate. You can purchase a pack from Citizen of the World, abc.com. You'll find the details in the episode notes. Right now, I am sitting, looking in the mirror. My two beautiful children are fast asleep beside me. And this mirror sits in a house that is so safe. And everything that this mirror sees now is comfort and security, because that is physically what is going on in the house. But that mirror has seen and heard a lot of things. And I'm really thankful for it. I feel quite attached to it. And so, yeah, where I get my conversational skills with myself from. And even though there's not a need to do it anymore, I've always just continued doing it because I enjoy my own company. That might sound a bit weird, but I do. I enjoy just chatting to myself. It's a normal thing in our house that my children would look at me and maybe say, sorry, what? Thinking that I'm talking to them. And then I'll just say, no, I was talking to myself. And I find my son doing it as well. And we chat. And sometimes I think he's saying something to me and he turns around and he says, no, I'm just talking to myself. And I think, yeah, if you can talk to yourself, you'll probably be all right in life because you're getting to know yourself and you're probably liking yourself, because I think you have to like someone that you choose to talk to. We have to talk to people all the time that maybe we don't like, but when it's a choice, like there's no need for it. You don't have to do it. I think that, yeah, I think you like yourself and it fills me with joy and calmness. And I really appreciate the fact that this mirror is now looking in on a house of calmness. So on that note, I think I'm going to leave this conversation and say thank you so much for listening and thank you for the lovely feedback. Would appreciate it if you spared a few moments and put that in a review. And also follow the show so the episodes come directly to you. Thanks for listening.